Hello. This is Fadelessword. I guess I am Fadelessword. And this is another episode of Fade Yaps. We're back today. This time I'm gonna have the 2xKO gameplay in the background. And it's another live recorded gameplay as well. So, hey, that's something, right? Today's topic actually isn't gonna be one that was suggested to me. It's gonna be one of my own topics. We're gonna be talking about why I chose to make this, this series. Why I chose to make this series, pretty much. There's a couple reasons why. I think I mentioned one of them in the episode 0 when I first was talking about what this series is and doing it. Essentially what the series is how do you put it? The reason I stated, I believe, at least I actually out loud stated, was because I wanted it to have a series that I post onto YouTube that's YouTube original, for something just to have posting every week, you know, so that it's always something posting and whatnot, just to be consistent, you know. I want to be more consistent on YouTube, which you know, it seemed cool, right? But so that's the reason I've mentioned, but really there is more to it than that. One of the big things I've seen recently, not recently, but I heard of, God, how do you put this? Not even heard of. Basically what I learned, or not learned, but I read this recently. The creator of Hello Charlotte VtuberEN uploaded these blog posts, these little blog posts to talk about it's basically a little homage. They talked about their journey because Hello Charlotte had just reached its 10-year anniversary. And pretty much with that, they've made some posts about it. One of those posts, just talking about the journey they've been on, talked about how they change every day. A person doesn't stay the same at all. They defined it more their cells don't stay the same. Every part of them changes. Even if it feels like they're the same person, or almost the same person each day, you know, there's always gonna be small little changes between that. So they talked about that. And in relation to that, I thought about what I post and what I make. They related their journey more to game development and how the stories they post capture who they were at that time, right? I thought it made me think about a lot of things in relation to me posting onto these platforms and stuff too, right? Because in a way, it's another form of medium. It's a whole nother medium, right? But it kind of represents the same thing. I've viewed my streaming journey a lot in the sense of oh, I just want to do this because it's fun and I have a good time hanging out with people. And it's really neat and all of that. It's really cool to have something out there to post that I liked doing. That was my original thought about my streaming journey and all of that, right? But in relation to that, when I think about it a little bit more, it's well, I feel my perspective has changed on that too. Because while I might have thought of that more in the first year of streaming, nowadays I think of it more in the other sense that I'm trying to make something to remember the person I was at that point of time. Because I feel over time, as I've streamed and posted content onto this channel, onto my Twitch channel, heck, onto Twitter and TikTok as well, my style has changed. What I like has changed. Who I am has changed altogether. I was a very quiet and not outgoing person who hated the idea of playing like a lot of team games because I liked playing games alone, or I liked just being alone, you know? I feel like that's changed a lot now over time. And when I look back at my old content, wherever I can find my old content anyways, wherever I can find my old content and I look back on it, I always think, wow, that's not me anymore. I almost don't recognize who that was. It's weird. It's a really weird experience to think about because it's like, huh, that is me. I know that's me. But it's like, it's not at the same time, you know? I feel like that person who I was back then, I don't really know anymore. Not in the same way as like, I know myself right now, you know? I talked quietly. I wasn't outspoken that much. I just existed, you know? I just existed. Yeah, which is cool to think about how much I've changed over time. But in a way, it's also a little bit scary, you know? If that makes any sense, you know? It's scary in the sense that not knowing if this change I've made for myself is good. It feels good, you know? It feels like I've made good changes for myself, but do I know that for sure, for certain? Not at all. Not one bit. So being able to look back on who I was at the time and not completely lose that part of me that I was, that part of me who was like very competitive with games, that part of me who would you know, be more of like a background character, I guess is the best way to put it. Not anyone trying to stand out in the spotlight. And I feel like I still don't completely go for that, but I think I do it a little bit more. Or at least I'm a bit more outspoken than I used to be, for sure. It's cool to look at the changes, but again, seeing how much you can change from like certain things in a short period of time, it's really weird. Weird in a way I don't know how to describe, but it's like, wow, you can change that much in a short period of time like that? How does that even work? You know? But yeah, I mean, like, I feel like my music tastes are kind of the same as well, but minorly as well, they're different too. They're the same, yet not quite the same. There's little nuanced changes to them. The way I communicate to people also has very nuanced changes to them. It's like roughly the same, but I think like, let's say messaging people. When I message people, I think I used to message like way more dryly. And I just kind of throw an emote in there as well. But I think recently I've been messaging like way more, less dryly. You know? I've like branched myself out a bit more in like how I communicate, and it's changed. It's weird. It's such a weird little phenomenon to see like just how much a person can change over time. And it's cool in the same sense as well, because it's like, wow, I could be this person who I wanted, kind of a person who I'd wanted to be, but I wasn't able to be until like recently with how I'm, you know, am now. It took her like, it's a lot of work, you know? But yeah, I think it's just really cool to me, you know? It's such a cool concept to me. There's so many like minute changes in me that like I wouldn't recognize on my own until like it all builds up and crashes down on me and I'm like, wow, I've really changed. But having this record of like my thoughts makes it like really easy to tell like, okay, this is what I've changed. My opinion on this aspect of something has changed. And that's really cool. That's what the series the main topic of this conversation is like why the series exists, right? So to point it out in relation to what I've just said, the reason the series exists and works, you know, the way it does, is because it's this cool little way of figuring out like, of holding this idea of who I was by talking about myself weekly or talking about my thoughts on a topic weekly. Whenever I like either recover a topic or maybe talk about a topic again, sort of, you can kind of like see how my thought process has changed. And I can see how my thought process on it has changed. And that's so cool to just have on hand and a record of it as well. Having just a record of like who I am, who I've become. It's really neat. And it helps me kind of think about things a little bit easier as well, because now I can just kind of, I have something to reference to, right? So the series existing, the reason I try to record this once a week rather than like, all right, I'm just gonna record like 5-10 episodes of 10 topics in 1 week and then move on with my life, and then I'll do it again 10 weeks down the line, right? I could do that, but I feel like doing it weekly lets me kind of capture that idea of like, this is who I was this week. I can't capture the daily, but capturing at least like, this is who I was this week. And this is what was cool that I thought about myself this week. Or like, this is cool ideas I thought about in relation to something this week. Versus like, what I thought maybe 10 weeks ago. Because I will have that record of 10 weeks ago. But having 10 records of what I thought 10 weeks ago, I feel like wouldn't be as related to my purpose of like creating all of this, you know? At least that's my thoughts on it. It definitely, I feel like it would be easier on me in terms of like, I'll have like all this done and everything. But at the same time, it really isn't, for me, it's not really about being easier. It's about being able to do something I really liked and really like doing, you know? That's more so what it's about for me. And like down the line, years in the future maybe, or maybe a couple weeks in the future, I can be like, well, what did I think about this topic at this time? And how did that change? Because it's probably changed, right? Opinions change every day. Sometimes opinions change every week. Sometimes they change every year. It's never consistent. It's different per person. But knowing how much I've changed in like, I guess the last 4 years, and then relating it to like, hey, I can barely recognize who I was 4 years ago. And when I point that out to myself, I'm like, well, now I wish I had like a record of like my thoughts more so. Cause I have stream VODs, right? I mean, I lost a lot of them thanks to Twitch, you know, but I have stream VODs, right? That like show me I was this a while ago, you know? That I used to be this. And, you know, that's cool. Those VODs are cool, but like, now I have this series, which is only a couple months long, or it's only been a couple months. But I think if I look back and I think of like, if I look back to how I talked in episode 0 versus how I talk right now in, I don't know what episode this is, help. How I talk right now in this episode, or maybe how I talked in the last one, how I talked in the 4-year anniversary one, you know? When I can think about those things, it's like, well, it's different. I feel like I'm still stuttering here and there, and sometimes I lose the plot. Sometimes I lose the plot while I'm talking, you know? But it's not like one-to-one I've lost the plot, you know? I'm stammering a little less. I'm a little bit more confident about like what I'm saying and talking about. Should I be? That's a different topic, but a whole different topic, but you know, it's there. It's a difference. It's a change. It's this change I know in myself that I've observed about myself, and I can go back and see just how different it is. I'm not someone who can like listen to their own voice and be like, oh my god, this is great. I love listening to myself. Yippee. That's my voice. I want to hear more of my voice. You know, that ain't me. That is absolutely not me, you know? But even then, it's like, well, I might like cringe at my own voice, or I might cringe at like this person I used to be. But at the same time, knowing I used to be this and seeing how far I've come, or how much I've changed in that regard, knowing and seeing that is a lot. Because I can know something, right? But being able to visually and like hear the change, see the change, all of that, that's like a whole different thing. I can then point out like, oh, I've done this. I've changed this in myself. This is how I've grown. Maybe this is something I liked about myself that I haven't been doing a lot recently, and maybe I should start doing it again. That aspect of self-growth and learning makes me really appreciate just having this series. That's a little, I guess you could say, cringy, because I'm not the most informed on all topics sometimes, and sometimes I just yap and sidetrack reasons, but honestly, seeing that and seeing it change, or seeing like maybe actually I go into the future and I don't have that issue of like sidetracking and yapping about unrelated things for 10 minutes and then getting back to the plot and, you know, finding the plot. Maybe I don't have that issue in the future, but when I look back and hear myself talk about it, I'm like, well, actually, that was really cool to have. Sometimes the rambling's fun. Sometimes I actually liked the rambling, you know? Let me bring it back. Or maybe I rambled about something really crazy, like a story. Like I told a story about something. And, you know, maybe I forgot the story, and, you know, the series just has it stored. My story I tell is just stored in the series with its topic. And I can revisit that. Because I try to remember my stories, but I can't remember all of them, and I can't remember if I've talked about all of them either. Sometimes they just pop up. And I'm like, oh yeah, that happened. I forgot that happened. That was cool. But yeah, like stuff like that makes it like really handy to have the series. And it's a record. Like all my content I liked. The reason I used to like highlighting everything I made on Twitch, just so the VOD was there. Until, you know, they removed that feature. Hate that, but whatever. Well, then they made a storage limit, but whatever. Sidetracking. Lol. Still hate it though. But the reason I used to highlight everything is because, well, one, I can make a video out of it. That's always handy, right? To have the highlight to revisit and make the video out of and download, you know? But the other reason is like, oh, here's a record. Here's who I was when I started streaming. Here's who I am now. It's very different. It's not the same. And you can now visibly see the person I was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago, a year ago, and even now. You know? I don't know if I timed that right. I feel like I had an extra year. Yeah, maybe I did. Okay, whatever. I don't care. Sidetracks like that will be fun to revisit. But thinking about it, like, yeah, now I can revisit all this. I can see who I was. That was the cool part about having like all those records and stuff. And them disappearing, it's like, well, now I don't have that anymore. I can't visibly see other than like short little bits and little memories I have in my brain about who I was. Which, I mean, isn't terrible, but like having a record of it that I can visibly see, visibly see and reflect on is now this really nice thing to have. And others can see it too. That's another big part. Other people can see like, hey, you used to be this and now you're more this. Other people can also see the same thing I get to see in that regard. I love this idea of making a record of like my work and like the stuff I've done. It's cool. When I made the series, I didn't really expect it to be popular. I don't think it's popular, and I don't really plan on it being popular either. It's mostly a way I can upload consistently, and then also just like this thing for me that I can reflect on. And other people want to see like who I was in 2025 versus who I'm going to be in, oh god, it's 2026. Who I'm going to be in the next year, right? Knowing that change is really big. Other people can see my growth in aspects. In a way, it's terrifying to put like yourself out there, put your thoughts out there. I feel like it's really terrifying to put like that stuff out there. It's this big leap of faith that when you put it out there, you're not about to just get jumped by people who don't like your opinions, you know, or don't like what you think about stuff, or don't like what you say about things. When you put yourself out there, it's this big hope for all of that, you know, that for all of that not happening, you know. If that makes sense. But once you do it, you realize, well, now that I've done it, I have all this to show and share. I can save this for myself and look back on it. So that is a big reason. That's like the main reason I definitely started this series, for sure. That record. That record and reflection. But you know what another reason is? As I talked about it, I thought like, oh, actually this was another reason in the back of my mind. And now it's also going back into the back of my mind and not coming out. That's crazy. It's actually gone. Please come back. Oh my god, it's gone. Oh, that! I got it. I've done mostly scripted stuff on this channel, or like highlighted stuff. Before I started the series, this entire channel was either like, whenever I talked post video, so whatever I talked about post video, that for the most part was scripted. I wrote a little script, a set of dialogue that I was gonna say, and I said it, and I recorded those voice lines, and I did it, and boom, 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 right? That's what I did. Because it was easier, right? And it worked well with the highlights as well. I don't know about easier, it just worked well with the highlights. But on top of that, you know, I did a lot of highlights that didn't have any post vocals. And a lot of that post vocals I put in afterwards had a lot of mistakes in it. I would make a lot of mistakes. My toning wasn't exactly right either sometimes as I wanted it to be. I just wasn't comfortable recording myself or recording my voice. And you know, I can't listen back to my voice too often either. One time, if I really force it, 1 or 2 times is the most I can do, and then I'm like, I can't do it anymore. I need a break. So it's hard to get stuff done like that. But to be honest, if we look at the Hello Charlotte video I posted, amazing video. I think that's one of like my favorite videos I've posted on this channel. Mostly due to like all the work and like all the effort and stuff I put into it, and just how well I think personally it turned out. If you saw the script recording that I did for that, you could see. If you saw the timeline, there's a little image of the timeline on Twitter. Or somewhere. It's somewhere. I actually don't know where it is. But there's a little image of what the timeline looks like. Maybe I'll throw it in the video if I remember. Hopefully I'll remember. But that image shows like how many cuts, a fraction of the cuts, because it's zoomed out, you know. Since it's zoomed out, you can't see all the cuts, but there's a lot of cuts in that video. And a lot of those cuts aren't even from the video. There are a lot from the video itself. They're from the audio part of the recording. Because the audio part of the recording, I made a lot of mistakes. I messed up a lot of lines. I didn't record it well the first try. And it took a lot of like redoing and re-saying them to make it like good. It took so much of that to make it good. I had to cut so much to make it good. It was an 8.5 hour long recording overall, and it got cut down to what the video length is now, like 5 hours, 5.5 hours ish. It got cut, I think it's 5 hours. It got cut down to that. From 8.5. That's insane. That's so much time, and that means there was that much of cut scripting, cut mess ups, 3 hours of mess ups from speaking, right? So starting this series, and you can see it, as I've talked about already, technically in this video alone, I had so many mess ups. I have so many mess ups or stammering in the first like little episode. And in this one, I feel like it's a lot less. I could be wrong. I could absolutely be wrong. And I'm just kind of yapping, to be fair, but like, I could be wrong about this, but I feel like the mess ups are much less now, right? I'm getting better at like recording an audio, and I think this series has really helped me with just turning on, talking to myself, and recording, because I've been streaming for quite some time, right? But a lot of the time when I stream, I bounce off chats and what the viewers in my chat are saying and react to that or talk about that. Or I'm playing a game that has like all my attention and I'll just talk about the game or do voice lines in the game as well, right? There's all those things I do except just talk to myself, you know? Because it's hard to just talk to yourself. You feel like a crazy person sometimes just talking to yourself. So this series has helped me feel like a crazy person. Less like a crazy person. It's allowed me to just talk to myself and have like a reflective conversation with myself out loud and not in my head. It's like, wow, I love that I can do that now. Or I love that I have an outlet and medium to do that. While like getting better at this idea of like offline recording and one taking it. I think I've only reset a recording like one time. And aside from that, aside from audio checks and making sure those are good, it's just been one take, one take, one take. Which is something I'm proud of. And I think the only time I had to like cut out random yapping that like wasn't related to the topic at all, the whole editor cut this out thing, the only time I had to do that, I think, was the first episode. And from there, I've been better and better and better about it. Or like talking about the game and blah, 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 that stuff, right? I've been better and better and better about it. And that's really cool to see. Because when I did the first episode, I'm like, well, this is gonna take a while for me to get good at this idea of just playing something in the background. Sometimes I'm not playing something. Sometimes I am I guess the 4-year one was the only one where I wasn't myself playing anything, but instead just kind of like recording over. But still, it's not easy to just talk about stuff in general. So I'm pretty proud about myself in that regard, you know? That I was able to like do that. It's pretty cool to say. The series has really helped me out with like talking to myself like this and recording it without like any pressure of like a chat room or anything going on without me, with me, and like reacting to that and just like kind of just having this full-blown long little yap session uninterrupted, well, mostly uninterrupted. And I think that was one of the benefits that I thought would happen. I thought it would absolutely happen and help me out over time. I didn't think I'd get to see like any amount of results this early on or this quickly. And that wraps us right back to, oh my god, I am changing a lot over time. How did that happen? I ended up changing like a lot, and I could do that now, right? And that relates right back to that concept of I'm not the same person who I was like 4 months ago. 4 months ago? Hello? 4 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago. How many episodes this is, right? I'm not that same person. I'm similar. I'm close to it, but it's not quite me anymore. It's a different me who's the same yet not the same. And being able to reflect on that change, see that change, like straight up in like that physical change as well in that regard, right? That's so cool. That is so cool to me. And I don't think that'll ever like go away, that aspect of making something. Even if like one day this series ends, right? Like one day I'm sure the series will end and I'll do something else, right? Even if that happens, I'll still have the series to look back on. And then I know the next thing I make will be the same thing, where it'll be something else I post that's me at the time that I can look back on too. And for that reason, that's pretty much why I made the series. Those are like all the reasons of why I made the series, at least. And yeah, I mean, I really like doing it. So this has been a fairly long yapping session. Thank you for listening to me yapping about such a broad and open topic and repeat myself constantly over time. That might get better too one day. I appreciate it. Thank you for watching. I have been Fadelessword, and I will catch you in next week's episode, where we'll be back to some viewer-suggested topics. I am running a bit low on topics, though, so if you do want to suggest, feel free to do so in the YouTube comments, or Blue Sky, Twitter, or in the Discord. But yeah, thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. I hear it helps the algorithm. If you have your own opinions on the topic as well. Wait, I don't think you can have your own opinions on this topic. Well, if you have an opinion on the topic, maybe something you like about the series, feel free to comment that down below as well. And yeah, I'll catch you in next week's episode. Thank you for watching, and bye-bye.